Welcome back. If you just joined us, you're watching the Daily Roundup with Nina. Now, the Namibia University of Science and Technology, the ITSi UserGroup Committee, together with AdaptIT Education, are currently hosting the 35th ITSi UserGroup Conference. The three-day conference is being hosted under the theme, Leveraging Revolutionary Technology to Support Digital Transformation for a Sustainable Future. How resilient, dynamic and inclusive is today's higher education? Now, to unpack this for us this evening, we're joined by Mr. Luxolo, Rubushe, who is the MD of AdaptIT Education. Good evening and welcome.
Good evening, and thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much for being here. Perhaps you can start by, talking to us about what the objective of this conference is.
Thank you so much. Perhaps as a bit of a quick background on our side. As AdaptIT, we have a product that we use in a number of institutions across the country and beyond in the African continent. And what we have is that since 35 years ago now, 1987, we have actually been meeting every year as the users of that system to reflect on its progress, its usefulness to our customers. And what has happened is that in this particular year, we've been holding it every year, and we've decided to come and hold it here in Namibia, the land of the brave. It's actually the second time it is being held here in this country. The last time it was 2013, and incidentally every year we get record numbers of our users that are coming to attend that. So there must really be something about this country that attracts people to come through. But the very essence of why we do meet it's an opportunity for our users to reflect, as I said, on really the usefulness of our product. Many of them would have been new in terms of acquiring this system. Come together, they learn best practices from other users of our own product, which is great because that then gives us a platform to identify further opportunities in terms of how we develop the product and how we improve the product itself. Thank you.
We speak of inclusivity a lot, but when it comes to it, the focus of implementation tends to fall on urban areas as opposed to the rural areas. They always are left out. How will this conference go about ensuring the inclusivity of all demographics?
Thank you very much. I think in terms of our product, Nina, one of the investments we've made over the last couple of years, there was actually an unfortunate incident in South Africa in one of the universities where parents and their children were queuing to gain access to the institution during the space of registration. And what then happened is that there was a stampede, and in fact people died. As a consequence of that, we had to invest very heavily in assisting our customer institutions to ensure that students can apply online and they don't have to go and queue. That platform that we developed is something that we call the iEnabler, which is an internet-based platform for students, has been used extremely extensively now. I can share with you that in 2023, 6.5 million students have actually applied using that platform. And what is quite great is that they now don't have to come to a campus. They can access this using their smartphones, and they can do a full implementation application on that platform, including payment from a banking point of view. So that's been very useful. The challenge generally has been, one, the access to devices. We're extremely encouraged that a lot of governments are investing in making sure that young people, students, can gain access to these devices. The second key component of that is with regards to connectivity. And a lot of the telco companies have come on board to make sure that they're able to discount those so that young people can get that. So from a higher education point of view, while there is that digital divide, I think a lot of effort from governments across our continent have gone into making sure that students can access these platforms accordingly.
That's fantastic. I mentioned the theme earlier, and it's quite elaborate, but do unpack it for us just briefly.
Yes, what has happened is say over the last 5 years, but I think even more so over the last 3 years, there has been this acceleration in innovation, and the impact of technology has begun to affect not only how we work, but also how we live. And there's been this convergence between those two worlds, such that when we're looking at the design of solutions, we look at how those solutions themselves can be used in a manner that is able to assist our students. So to give some examples at the present moment, you look at, for example, chatbot technology as it is, where, for example, a parent may want to know that my student that applied for funding, I want to know whether or not they received that funding. A student that applied for a place, let's say at UNM or NUST, would want to know that they are able to get a space. Now with chatbot technology that is available on a WhatsApp platform, a parent can simply enter a student number and make that inquiry. And a robot at the back of that is linked to the systems of the institution, which would be our system in this case, can then automatically communicate back to the parent to say, yes, your student has been approved by NSFA, for example, for funding, or yes, as a student, you've got a place, or no, there's information that is missing. How that becomes revolutionary is that in the olden days, there would have been a call center that would have been staffed with a number of people. They would be available only for an X number of hours in a given day. But what we now have is a situation where the chatbot and the bot behind that, you can actually use it at 24/7 and you get those responses, and they themselves are accurate and I think also pleasant when we look at some of our call center agents.
Yeah. Luxolo, in general, when we have, these discussions, not only high-level discussions, but all discussions, how important is it, that we make tech inclusive?
It is extremely important. In fact, the question of inclusivity at various levels is a central theme at the present moment. This is inclusivity in terms of access, but over and above that, it is to make sure that marginalized communities or sections of our communities can get access to these platforms and also to these institutions of higher learning. As an example, it would be people with disabilities. It's very important that institutions themselves are reconfigured to accommodate people with disabilities. The other one, which is historical for us, is a question of women or gender, and people being able to get access and also being able to be treated fairly. And it's quite key then that in terms of the infrastructure of the institutions, it is able to accommodate those. Perhaps the other last aspect from my side, Nina, it will be the question of mental wellness of young people, but also teachers. We see in some instances that academics, they commit suicide, they go through depression for a number of different reasons. So we've also been able to partner with companies, a company that we call Psyched, to provide digitally enabled psychological assistance to both students as well as staff. And that is what is revolutionary about what is taking place now. Student does not have, for various reasons, have to face a psychologist or a counselor. They can get online, they can be anonymous, and as part and parcel of that process, still get the kind of service that they deserve.
Just lastly, as we round off our discussion, perhaps you can take us through some of the activities planned for the next 2 days?
Yes, it kicked off today. It was a wonderful day. We were honored, firstly, by the presence of the Deputy Minister of ICT, the Honorable Matthew Fellas. She was there, gave a resounding address, and also we had a wonderful address that came through from Dr. Orald Naumap, that is from NUST, and those two really kicked off the session. What we've got is tomorrow, fundamentally, we'll have a launch of a new product of ours that we call ITS Infinity. It's the first phase of that. It is focused on the applications and selections part for institutions of higher learning. And this is because for every 10,000 spaces, an institution will get 100,000 applications. And the process has been quite tedious to go through those applications to arrive at the most eligible students that one would want to have in that space. What we are also doing is we've got a focus on technologies such as 3D printing, and we've got some models that are from UNAM, and we are now having these focused conversations about how this can be leveraged to address a number of different areas. Like, for example, 3D is being piloted by one of our universities in South Africa for housing. And we are going to be having those today as well as tomorrow, where we've got tracks that are focused on how to optimize student administration, student finance as well as HR and payroll, which is a critical component of the sector as well. Yes.
Fantastic. Mr. Rubushe, thank you so much for being here this evening, and all the best of success for the next 2 days of the conference.
Thank you so much, Nina, and to all the viewers for the opportunity. Thank you.
Well, there you have it. We're going to take a short break. When we come back, it's time for our Health Corner. much.